So, my argument in this video is to say that social media sucks. And I think it's funny that most people inherently know this. Even though there are positive aspects to social media, such as, staying in contact with friends that move across the country or your family members that move away, it's definitely beneficial. And we feel like that's the only way to do it. But for some reason, social media targets a lot of our innate desires that we have, like biologically, like community and like a validation, love, camaraderie, and just the constant need for pleasure. Social media is very good at, I'm not trying to sound like a victim, but like social media is very good at preying on our biological needs. And this is why it's so hard to put down your phone once you get on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat. And I've had social media most of my life. I would say from like 7th or 8th grade till now. And I just completely got off of it only a few months ago. I've always been on and off about it. I haven't consistently quit it for longer than, I think the longest period of time I went was like 6 months. And then I got back on it and I thought everything would be different. I thought I would be different. I thought I would handle it more modestly, I would say. I don't know if that's the right word. Like I thought I would use it in moderation, like people say. Like, don't, like any you can have too much of a good thing. And social media, I don't know if it's a good thing in the first place, but like I said, there are good things about it. But I think that it causes us to become more antisocial, to be caught up in looking at other people's life. And what we forget is that people only put out, let's say, less than 10% of their actual life. And so from our view, we see that 10% and we might say, wow, I would like to live like they live. They're always happy and they're always doing fun things. They're always going on vacation. And we're looking at only 10% of their life and wishing our life was like theirs. But you're not seeing the other 95 to 90% of their life. It could be pure hell. And so this is a trap. This is a very dangerous trap. And the only way I really believe what I just said is because I've came across that. I was very vocal on social media. I was always outspoken and always posting, adding new friends and having conversations with people all the time. Like, I wasn't just there to consume. I was producing content and, making posts and live videos and commenting on people's stuff all the time. And a lot of people that I talked to on social media, I would see them in real life. And, when you first see somebody, it's happy, smiles. Oh, I'm great. How are you doing? I'm great. I'm doing great, obviously. But then the more you talk to people beyond the small talk, how are you doing? How's your family? How's your job? All this stuff. Like, a lot of people are suffering beneath the surface. And I think social media does a good job of hiding that. And so we have like a false sense of reality, even with ourselves. Like, I can say this confidently that most people don't put the whole story out there. I can say that because I didn't either. I only put out what I wanted people to see. like pictures or just updates about what's going on in my life. And I think it gives us this false sense of community too. We think we have a very tight knit community where everybody has each other's backs, but do they really? And it's like a bunch of false compliments and glorifying each other, and I just think it's mostly fake because people don't act like that in real life when you actually go talk to them. I think it's interesting, and I'm not pointing anybody out. This is me too. I just think it's toxic and dangerous. And yes, like I said, there's benefits, but I think the drawbacks outweigh the benefits. Everything has a pros and cons. We learned this, when we're very small, young kids in school. We learned about looking at pros and cons of everything. So yes, you can leave a comment saying, well, social media helps me. I'm not going to argue with you. Especially if you have a business or some kind of fundraiser, nonprofit, or something like that, it's amazing. It can be amazing. I'm talking about the everyday consumer, the person that's just seeking an escape, the person that is just seeking pleasure. It is very pleasurable and addictive, and it gives you constant dopamine hits that keep you sucked into it. And I just think there's negative consequences that a lot of us acknowledge, and we still continue to use these platforms because it's so hard to pull ourselves away from them. And that's how it's serious, it's a serious addiction, because we can acknowledge the fact that it may be dangerous. It may have negative drawbacks, and we still use it. And for me in my life, I'm a bigger guy. I've always struggled with my weight and overeating and eating the wrong foods. And the thing is, I know it's a problem when I'm eating the large pizza from Little Caesars, and I still do it. It's the same thing. But I think it's the lasting effects of social media on our brains. Because if you think about it, human beings have been around for, it's debatable, but a consensus would be 300,000 years, right? How many of those 3,000 years have we had social media and smart technology where we can be on our phones for everything? We could Google anything we want to know. We can order food anytime we want. We can see what people are doing across the world 24 hours a day if we want. How long has that been around? Not long. So obviously there's going to be negative consequences from something that's only been around for a blip, for a tiny, tiny micro fraction of our existence. And I think there's tons of negative consequences, especially for children in the developmental years. Their brain is so malleable and can be formed into whatever these social media platforms want it to be. And this sounds like a conspiracy, but a lot of people think along these lines. And I constantly talk about this because I have lived, luckily, I grew up most of my life without it. Well, I don't know about most of my life, but a good portion of, especially being a child, I didn't have a cell phone until 15 years old. And it wasn't a smartphone, so I didn't have a smartphone, internet access in my palm 24 hours a day until I was maybe 10th grade, 16 years old, 17 years old, maybe, I don't remember. So it used to be I would have a flip phone or a slide phone that could just text and call, and then when I got home I would get on the desktop and go on MySpace, which was cool, but it wasn't I was always on it. And mostly it was for music and just switching my top 8 friends or top 16 or whatever it is. And so we don't even know the effects that constantly being stimulated by social media and other people's lives and scams, and I don't know, like I wish I could dive into this super deeply, but there's a lot, man. It's a lot, like, and it negatively affects you even if you don't realize or acknowledge it. Like there's a lot of unintended consequences of having this accessibility. And I just think, especially for children, I'm terrified. Not really, I'm not terrified. My mind wanders, and I'm thinking about like 20, 30 years down the road, how this affects, because I know even as me, I didn't grow up as a child throughout the developmental years, or at least the early developmental years, without it. I didn't have that stuff. And I know even with me getting that access later, a little bit later than life than most of the kids these days, how much it affected me. Like comparing myself and feeling down about myself because I'm looking around at other people when it's a small fraction of their life that I'm looking at that may not even be true or accurate, or always getting sucked in by clickbait and false narratives, hyperbole, manipulation tactics, sales pitches, marketing, advertising, and we're always being sold on us lacking something. Like social media, like all these new fancy businesses that come out with these crazy products that aren't really necessary, they're very good at making us feel like we need them to improve our lives. And that's why I think social media, they do a good job at making you feel like you need it. Like without it, you're going to miss out. FOMO is a big reason why people stay on it, and a big reason why, I still struggle and I still want to get on it sometimes. And why people, even though they know it may be toxic, they stay on it because they're scared to miss out on somebody's birthday or somebody's profile picture upload or their crush, their family. I just think, like I said, there's a lot of pros and there's in my opinion, a far more amount of cons to social media. And even if you don't get rid of your stuff like I did, like I at least put forward the thought of what life was like or would be like without it. Like, what would you do differently? Would you go hiking more? Would you go camping more? Would you actually socialize more when you're out in public? When you're having dinner with your family, would you be able to look people in the eyes more? Would you be able to laugh more, wink more, laugh more, be more present? And, like even if you go hiking more, imagine not needing to pull out your phone to take a picture or a video or to upload a status or go live and stream it. You just embrace the moment. And this is cliche as hell. I get it. But you just, when you're present, like, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but the less dopamine that you get from artificially designed, manipulative, pleasure, melting pot of technology, the less your brain is exposed to that, the more that natural stimulus will affect you and make even the smallest things more enjoyable. If you have children, just their laugh, them running around, falling on the ground, crying, smiling, laughing, giggling, playing around. That stuff's pretty fun to watch if you're not looking at your phone the whole time. Or just go out to a restaurant with a friend, look them in their eyes, ask them how they're doing, and you don't need to show them pictures and tell them about somebody that DM'd you. You just sit there and talk to them and truly be interested and invested in what they're saying. Social media convinces us that we're more connected than ever, but in my opinion, we're the most disconnected we've ever been. So, let me know what you think in the comments.